And we're back with Your Natural Dog and my very special guest today, Koco Garcia of Handover Rover, one of my new favorite rescues that I'm so excited to be working with because, as I keep telling you, when I had to move and leave my rescue of 17 years, did I have to go through like, what is the 5 stages of grief, where I felt like, oh my God, I'm not going to make a difference anymore. But instead I had to remember if I could do more, teach more, educate more, and then collaborate with other rescues like you who are doing a lot of the same things, that I could continue to teach people how to help their animals and their rescues, their own animals, how to heal them naturally, and just keep on spreading that and showing how that works. And I want everyone to hear your story because I also love your story, how you went from being a trainer to, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Someone's got to do something here. And those are my favorite kind of people who step up and go, someone's got to do something here. And you did that. Tell us how you started and how you ended up becoming a rescue.
So I actually became a dog trainer after I had the rescue. Previous to this life, I really didn't do anything with dogs. I had 2 small dogs that I had purchased off Craigslist from backyard breeders. I didn't even know the term, didn't know that was a thing. It just fit. That's what I was looking for. Just 2 little dogs, didn't do anything, but just love them and work. And that's how it went. I ended up stepping in to help a situation with a friend that had a large kind of pit bull mix-ish dog, but just lovely, really great dog. And he couldn't keep her. I had never fostered. I had never networked. I had never done anything. I didn't know the difference between county shelter and rescues. I just knew that I wanted to help this dog. So in the process of doing that, he backpedaled and ended up dumping her at the shelter. And I didn't find out about it until the weekend, and it was just the time frame. She was going to be euthanized, and I did know that. They only gave a short window for owner surrenders. So I got down there as fast as I could to fish her out. And thankfully I found her, and I had not been to the county shelter as an adult. I had been there once when I was a child, and that was in Oregon. My dog got out and they picked her up. But that I vaguely remember that. I had never stepped foot in one of these. I had no idea what I was walking into. And I had described it like that Ace Ventura movie, the second one, When Nature Calls, when he walks in to the trophy hunter's office and there's all these, and he just is about to have, that's what I felt like in there. I could not believe and that's where everything shifted. And my buddy that was with me, we were looking for a way to give back at the time. And I said, this is what we're doing. This can't keep happening. We have to do something. And so we started the nonprofit. And then we started off really heavy. Like, he and I both are very competitive. And if you're not going to go all the way, then what are you doing? And it made sense. It made sense to me. It made sense to him. He said verbally to me when we started it, he's like, if we do this, we're only pulling the ones that are going to get euthanized on the E-list, the ones that have history. And I was like, yeah, obviously. Why? Meanwhile, we have no experience. I don't know how to walk a dog properly on a leash. I have no training experience. The dogs I bought off Craigslist are a Shih Tzu and this little Corgi mix. No clue. But it made so much sense to do what I couldn't think of any other thing we would do. Why wouldn't we do that? How hard could this be? I don't even think I thought how hard could this be.
Have you ever heard the saying, like, it's an entrepreneur thing, and this is an entrepreneur spirit that you have, whether you know it or not. And I'm so glad it got put to such good use. But the saying is that if you did know everything that was required to do what you had to do, you would have never done it.
God, yes. Yeah. And that is a driving force behind, because after I realized that, if I counted the cost to any of this, I mean, the amount, not even the money, the amount of anxiety and deep, deep trauma that I was just not unaware of how to navigate or deal with, I would have never stepped. As it's turned out, it's worked out very well, and we've made it work. And that's the beginning. That's how it all started. I ended up becoming a trainer because the third dog that we pulled from a shelter, quite literally, and this is no exaggeration, I have a YouTube video on it, he almost killed me twice. And that was, 2 really difficult times. We had many difficult times that landed me in the hospital. He's sleeping over here. He's he's my favorite dog. He's my best dog. It took us a long time. It took me a long time to figure it out. Genetically, he was very hardwired for his breed. And I was very hardwired to take a long time to figure it out. But we got there. And so I've combined the two. And now all of the dogs that we pull into the rescue, every single dog is trained. We lean toward behavior cases, because once I learned how to work with this guy, that I had 16 professionals tell me to put a bullet in his head. You cannot, Coco, you can't fix dogs like this. You can't bring them back. Some are too far, like on and on and on. And all of the people that would tell me this, I would ask them, what was the longest case study you had? They didn't have any. They tapped out. Yeah. The first bite, oh, you can't do it. The first conversation, oh no, you didn't even try? Or they tried and it was 3 weeks. 3 weeks out of a life, that's all. I couldn't deal with that. And it pissed me off to no end. And so I said, fuck it. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
Oh, no,
I just
absolutely.
said, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it better. And I'm going to figure out how to tell other people how to do it.
That's right. You're like me, but rescues.
Yeah.
It's just me. What killed my dog? Why are dogs dying of cancer? Why is this happening? And just keep on working at it and getting to the root of it. And what's beautiful, and I do remember this story because it's one of the best stories ever, is tell everybody what's changed or switched or happened between you and this dog. Because to me, it needs to be a book. You need to write a book. He became the temperament testing dog for my rescue in the early days. And it's a full moon. It was full moon, so I'm super emotional. I had a very elite trainer tell me that he was trained as a fighting dog. And I didn't know what that looked like. They obviously knew what to look for when they evaluated him. And they were very specific with it. And I just thought, well, okay, great. Now what? I don't care. Can you help me or not? And they could not. They tried to, and they could not. We had some really, really, really heavy battles. We had some really dangerous moments. But when he wasn't in those moments, he was normal. It was not like this dog had a screw loose, as they say. He just was a dog. And I knew that. And that is what I kept going back to. Like, there is many somethings that I'm missing, because he's fine right now. And I am not going to kill an animal for acting like an animal. I brought him into this house. He obviously doesn't know how this works. And I've got to figure that out. And so we just kept going through it. I went through every YouTube, every book, every seminar, anything I could get my hands on. And I just started putting bits and pieces together over and over and over. After the last board and train that sent him back, I started doing all the things I had, amped up to do, and worked with him real slow. And back then, 4 months seemed like a long time, because I thought, rescues just kind of move quickly. I didn't realize that, I could do it at my own pace. But 4 months in, I had this dog I thought he would kill another animal if I let him out with him, because I saw his behavior. And when I took him to the second board and train, he attacked a 200-pound Connie Corso. And he's like a 65, 70-pound pit bull terrier mix. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I just have to keep him separate forever. And that's how it does. But that didn't really make sense to me either. So I just kept working with him. And 4 months after the last put a bullet in his head, I had him out with the Shih Tzu, the Corgi mix, and the dog I pulled from the shelter. And it was beautiful. And it was phenomenal. And it worked. And I got it. And so he ended up being such a social dog that when I would bring in new dogs to the rescue, which was just my home, I would always have some kind of barrier, like, a fence or a kennel. But Harrison would give me a good read. He would help a dog settle, because he was no longer reactive. He didn't charge anything. He was very happy and very friendly. And whatever, uncertainty that another dog had, he just kind of leveled it out. And he became my right-hand man. And what did he teach you about yourself?
Which part? I mean, honestly, which part? There's so many things that have happened with that dog that if I would have quit, because there was a moment after he had pinned me down, one of the last times, and I was terrified because I didn't think I was going to get out of that situation. And I was by myself, and I had broke my own rules of don't let him out by yourself. My partner and I had made a commitment that we would do it when he was there and he would drive over. Anyway, it was this thing. And I broke my own rules. And so after that, I was like, I had a little 10-minute window, and I called him and I said, Ryan, I can't do this. Like, he will kill one of us, probably me because he lives with me, but we can't do this. We're out of our league. Nobody will help. I don't know what to do. And Ryan said, without missing a fucking beat, fine. If you want to do that, we'll euthanize them. But after that, we're dissolving the rescue because we didn't get in this to kill dogs. We got in it to save them. And that gut punch, it was like the clouds parted, the angels sang. And in that moment, I felt so much liberation. I felt so much confidence. And mind you, I still knew nothing. I still had no clue what I was doing. But I didn't have anybody that I had to deliver this project to. It was mine now. Nobody was going to tell me it couldn't be done. I would figure out how to do it. And that's where it all shifted. And Harrison was the first unselfish thing I had ever done in my life. And previous to him, I had lived a life of working for what I, just enough to get paid. I didn't do anything extra. I didn't volunteer anywhere. Weekends were for however much fun I could have. And one weekend, my whole life was however it made me feel, which I wanted to have fun and have a good time. And if it wasn't those things, then I probably wasn't going to do it or, participate in it. And when Harrison came along, all that went out the window. My only goal was to give him what I promised was, you're not going to live in a kennel. You're not going to live a shit life. If I have to move to the backside of a mountain and dig a hole in it and we're in a cave, that's what I'll do. If that's the life you need, I will do that. But I knew that was, it was going to be a long journey. And so I had to develop a different mentality. I could not be me anymore. The old me was not going to work for this project. And it changed everything I did for the rescue. He is the backbone of what we do. And it made everything start working because I couldn't drink on the weekends. I've been sober now for 5 years. I had to develop a discipline that said, you have to get up an hour earlier. You have to go to bed an hour later because you have this extra project that needs your attention. And throughout this, I made a lot of errors. And throughout it, I made a lot of mistakes. And there were still things that have dog fights that broke out, situations. And as I was working through that, because I don't know if anybody's ever listening to this, when you've been in a dog fight, a brawl, and it's your fault because you put the wrong animals in the wrong room together, and now you think somebody might die, you don't care about what happens to you. You care about, are they going to be okay? Are they going to recover from this? Or did I just make this whole thing worse? And when you're the founder of an organization and doing things like this, you want to crawl under a rock and die. You do not want to come back out. You want to end it, because how could you just make such a classic, massive error? Like, that is so stupid. And so those things, like a few of those happened. And on one of the occasions, it was so horrible. I'll start it with the dogs were all fine. Nobody even had to go to the vet. But there was blood on every wall. There was smears of blood, and it was me. And I didn't know that until it was all said and done. And I was by myself, and Ryan was my second call. My first call was the guy I was dating, and I couldn't breathe. I was panicked, and I said, 911, I need you to get home. And he started bitching at me for something. Needless to say, we're not together. I called Ryan.
Response.
I know. I said, Ryan, 911, the dogs. And he said, I'll be there in 6 minutes. And he came over, and I just said, check the dogs, make sure everybody's okay. No, I mean, there was a puncture wound on one of them, but they all were pretty much unscathed. And somebody had got into it over food is what happened. And it just was, I had too many out at once, and not enough training and not enough people. And it was really stupid on my part, but they all came out. And I remembered getting nailed a few times by one of the dogs, but I couldn't even tell you where. I just was riddled with, my own body that was just sore and beat up. And I couldn't really function. And so as the next couple of days had gone on, I stumbled upon David Goggins on YouTube. And it was just a speech, a talk he was given. Somebody was doing a podcast like this, and he was just talking about how he made it through who he hated. He hated who he was. He went into, to become a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, and how he made it through Hell Week with a shattered pelvis, and on and on and on. And just his mentality of he just wasn't going to take his own wah, it sucks. I'm sad because it hurts. And in that moment, I decided I was going to become a Navy SEAL. That's what was going to happen for these animals. Like, I was so beat up that I couldn't physically sit up. I had to have somebody help me. And I couldn't stand that because I had a whole organization to run, and I still worked full-time jobs.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot. And so one of the dogs that was involved in the fight, he needed to get up, and he was older, and I needed to help him because he was sore. And I was on the couch, and I thought, okay, if I stand up, the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to pass out from pain. That's it. If I pass out, I'll be closer, and then I'll just get up again. And that's how I got through it. I didn't see the full picture at the end. I just took those steps, and then nothing stopped me after that. I developed that mentality that I will find a way to make it my fault, whatever happens. And when I can find that, I can problem solve it. Because if I'm pointing fingers at everybody else that said they gave me this dog, or I took this dog and they said it had now it's somebody else's problem, and I'm just going to keep doing that. But if I make it mine, and I did this, I will course correct, and I will figure this out because I'm too competitive to not.
Man, Koco, that speaks to me like nobody's business. And it's something that I talk about all the time because I want everybody to take their power back.
Yeah.
Meaning, and what I deal with all the time is, why did my vet put my dog on that drug? Why did my holistic vet give them that supplement filled with synthetic chemicals in it that's now gave them this side effect and is making things worse? It's not their fault, folks. It's your fault.
Yeah.
You have to be the advocate. You have to read the labels. You have to tell the vet, no, I'm 100%. Just here for this. No, I'm treating this holistically. All I need you to do is the blood work, the x-rays, and I've got a holistic vet that I'm working with on my own. There's nobody to blame. There's nobody to blame. And I love that you're saying that because there's nobody to blame. You want things to get better for you or for your animal, whether it's health or training, it's all up to you. And there's people like us who have been through it, learned the lessons ourselves, and we're here to motivate and help you. It's hard.
I mean, that really is exactly what it is. And I learned that, as we were going on with this, because exactly what you're speaking to, like the amount of times we're in the vet all the time, multiple times a week, no matter what, even if there's not a catastrophe, there's just a lot of animals, and that's how it is. And so you learn pretty quickly that you have to know what's happening. Like same with your own body. You have to have some kind of idea. You know you better than anybody else.
Exactly. And you know your dog better than anybody else.
I know the animal, even if it hasn't been with me for very long. I have to advocate for that.
Exactly.
And I just think that that's huge what you're speaking to, because that is the amount of people and followers and friends and, people that I have these situations with animals where they're very frustrated because, things have developed and now they're trying to do damage control, and they're pissed off at the vets. They're frustrated with the vets. And I'm not going to say it to them because I think most people deep down know that, hey, if you knew what something was going on last year and you didn't tackle it because you just kind of thought, well, it's a dog and I'll put it, whatever, he'll be okay. And now it's not okay.
Or even the opposite of that, where you did take it into the vet and the vet said everything was fine, but you still know in your gut something's off.
Something's not. Yep. And that's where I think people forget that you can challenge the information that's given to you, and you don't have to be confrontational about it, but you can also get a second opinion. You can get a third opinion. You can ask Mr. ChatGPT his opinion. Like there's so many resources. I tell so many people that come to us with any kind of, because we do a lot of medical now, which is how you and I found each other. And anybody that comes to us with these questions, I always say, make your profile public, ask the audience. I don't care if you have 3 people, somebody is going to share that or tag somebody that knows something. Ask. There are so many people that have already been through it. That is how I have remedied a lot of our stuff is I would just go to TikTok. TikTok's, they're phenomenal
TikTok,
over there.
Like literally, guys, you could type in holistic functional doctor who only uses holistic remedies for animals or menopause or depression or whatever it is, man. And those people are on there telling you everything you need to know. So what I love is we did meet because of medical. So over the 17 years of taking care of animals, I got to the point of the last 8, maybe 5 years of my rescue, probably 5 to 8, where I no longer needed a veterinarian. Wow. I had one, and it started with doing telehealth with her. I got the blood work and I got the x-rays if I needed them. And I got a diagnosis, and I knew the first thing I needed to do was to take them off their shitty diet, off the 5 to 12 pharmaceuticals / creams and sprays and eye drops, that every single one, when you run a rescue, you start going, wait a minute, I got a trend here. How come every old dog I have comes with a Ziploc with 5 prescription bottles and a special shampoo and eye drop? It's all the same every single time. And the dog is still not better. Oh, wait, this is for seizures, yet he's still having seizures. He's got no hair on his body because the side effect from these drugs is that, or it's, caused something else. So you start just keeping track of those things. And that's what I love watching with you, is that it's happening to you too, where you're going to be like, I'm doing this. Why? When I could do this and I don't have a side effect? Let's do this instead. And once that kept happening, and then it would be telehealth with Dr. Kathy Alanovi, who was my go-to vet in Tampa. And soon I'd just be going, here's the protocol. This is what I think I should do. And she'd go, right on. So that's the other thing. Is when you're running to the vet all the time because of diarrhea. Oh my gosh, I'm right now with a person who says she spent $1,000 at the vet because she brought her dog in with severe diarrhea. Why do we run to the vet's office with diarrhea, but we don't run to the doctor's office when we get diarrhea? Like, that's almost one of the worst things that you could possibly do, because what they're going to give you is metrozydol, which is a horrible antibiotic that is going to, kill whatever it is, but also wipe out the gut microbiota and open them up to leaky gut and all kinds of other problems. And it's not needed when you literally have silver hydrosol, oregano oil, pumpkin seed, all these amazing natural things that could be used as an all-natural antibiotic that are only going to kill the bad thing. Or better yet, be proactive and give them a mushroom tincture every day who's going to kill whatever bacteria, virus, or contaminant that is making them go through that diarrhea. And it's the body's way of trying to get something bad out. Let it do it. So anyway, I went off on a tangent, but I see the future for you where you're going to be like, nope, that's da-da-da. Here's the protocol. Nope, we don't need to run to the vet office for that, da-da-da. Because, and you've got a good vet that you work with, which is very fortunate. But in Florida, I had Kathy and that was it. And she was a good hour away. And then when it came to Nina getting osteosarcoma, I had to go 4 hours away where I could find a true holistic vet that wasn't going to load her up on unnecessary medications that she doesn't need. So let's talk about your successes medical so far, because I feel like you're about to put on a white coat, but no, don't do that. You know more.
No, God, no. I know enough.
Let's talk about how we fell in love with each other. Well, I fell in love with you. Wow.
Likewise. Oh, no, ditto. Speak for both of us, for sure. So you and I met through social media. And I had gone to a shelter down in Tucson. I was checking on a cat. I knew the cat wasn't going to be available, but I just went just to be me. I wasn't going to just sit. I needed to know that they were going to tell me, not yet. So I went down there. And historically, I don't spend much time at any of the shelters because that we lived in such a unfortunate part of Phoenix for so long running the rescue that you couldn't walk out the front door without there being a catastrophe that you had to tackle. So I never pulled from shelters. I couldn't,
because they were right there on the street to be rescued.
Yeah, it was street dogs galore.
Wow.
So, but anytime I've gone to the shelter, I have never, ever left empty-handed. And it's such a weird thing for me to even think that I might. I just can't, even if I know we're at capacity, I'm going to get ripped a new one by my business partner. It's just, it's like there's a fire, you got to put it out. Like, it's just one of those things. So I go to this shelter to check on the cat. And I was like, this time I'm going to walk out because I'm not leaving the lobby. I know they're going to tell me no. And sure enough, they told me no. I talked to somebody for a minute and I was waiting for the adoption coordinator to come meet me because I just wanted to introduce myself. I hadn't worked with them and I was waiting on this cat. And I see this older couple walk in and they have a little pink wire crate, and in it is about this big, looks like a little burnt baby deer. It's a little chihuahua with little toothpick legs. And I can hear her from, several feet away. Like, she can't
barely
breathe.
Breathing.
It sounds like she's suffocating. And you can tell she's lived a life of neglect. She just looked horrible. And I'm watching them take her in and I thought, oh God, they're surrendering their dog, which no problem. That happens. I get that with this where I was, but I knew I wanted her. And if she went in, she was dying in a kennel and she was suffocating, not just dying she was suffocating in a kennel until she was dead. There was no way around it. And I didn't want to offend these people by saying, let me take your dog. You're not going to finish this right.
God, I've been there so many times trying to figure out how to,
how to approach it. Exactly. Oh my God, that looks just like my dog I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's like my go-to. Yeah. So I walk up and I just politely asked, I'm like, hi, oh my God, is that your dog? That's a tiny, tiny dog. And the woman so graciously turned around and said, actually, no, we found her in our alley 2 nights ago. And I'm like, oh no. And the husband turned around and he engaged in conversation. And they told me the woman, she was the one that fed the feral cats. So she had a feral cat colony. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I feed feral cats, and your colony and your area. And she had said, I feed the cats in that alley. And she was back there last night. And she looked me dead in the eyes and she goes, this dog was not there the night before. And I know my neighbors. And I'm like, somebody put her there. We all agreed.
Someone dumped her.
Yeah. And that was where and I've said, it sounds like she needs some medical, or at the very least, just a little bit of comfort. We none of us thought she would make it. And I said, would you be okay if I took her? I'm a rescue and I'll finish her. She can stay with me in my home. Whatever time she's got left, it'll be on my pillow, basically. And they were thrilled about it. They thought it was a great idea. We exchanged information. I jumped in the car and I'm driving down to my vet and I took footage and I sent it to our doctor. And I said, am I coming to you or emergency? Because my gut said go to emergency, but because of what I was hearing, it sounded like either we were going to humanely euthanize or I was about to drop 10 grand and put this dog through, a hospitalization stay that maybe I didn't really know if I wanted to do that to her. Right. I didn't. So anyway, my vet says, come here now. I'm right here. Come here now. So I jump in there. And the reason I was okay to pull off from ER was because as we're driving there, she's on my lap and she's still doing this. But then there's moments where she starts to fall asleep and she can breathe okay. And when she wakes back up, it picks up again. But I kept thinking if I can get her to relax, maybe we might. But she couldn't even fall asleep all the way. It was just horrible.
Right.
It was one of the worst. I mean, her eyes were bloodshot. You could tell like she looked like she had been strangled. And we get into my vet. And I mean, it was like a hair. Her trachea was so collapsed. There was hardly any room for any air to get in there. And I'm like, oh, God, help me. What am I going to do? I felt like this is the part that's really difficult. And being in rescue, you don't want to extinguish a life that might still have life in it, but you absolutely are not going to let it continue to suffer. And then that third piece, when you're us, did I try everything? Did I do all of it? what, did I miss something? Is there something else? And that's where I was. I took her home. We had a really tough night. I stayed up all night. They had given me some hydrocortisone, cortisol, one of the liquids, just to help with
which is an antibiotic, right?
Yeah, right. And just to help with
that is like such a common practice, and it seems like no big deal, but it is a big deal. Yeah. What should be given is an antibiotic, sure, if that's really what your vet thinks and you trust your vet, but then how are we going to repair that gut afterwards?
Yeah.
Especially
there was a myriad of like, we didn't know what else to do. I was on the fence because my vet, you know, she knows me, and she was, whatever you want to do, Coco, do you want to, one of these? And I'm like, let me try it. So we do that, and not much success. I knew personally I wanted to get her started on a steroid, and I hate that, but I knew that would be maybe my only shot. I didn't know anything else.
Till we figure it out.
Exactly. And so I call her before the vet even opens. I'm like, can you have it ready? I got to get this. I zip down there, get it. And then that day we did a little bit better. And I'm breathing because I remember that day feeling like, okay, oh my God, we might have a window. And so we made it.
And those of you listening, this is when a steroid is appropriate, because we have to stop something. The animal is suffering. This is the only thing that veterinarians have at their disposal, unless they carry a good product like mine, but that they have at their disposal that can stop whatever it is. The problem is when that gets abused and it gets used on a daily basis or every time there's a problem, because we're never getting to the root of the problem. We're just stopping the body's reaction to the problem. And steroids have horrible side effects.
Yeah.
So they're only supposed to be used in emergency situations. So no problem, no judgment. That's what needed to happen.
And that's where my head was at too, because exactly what you said. I'm the first one to say, we're not using steroids. We don't even know.
Right.
But that's where that was the only thing I could think. And you still are balancing. Like I'm very delusional. I am not so delusional with the animals where I'm trying to, resurrect the dead.
Right.
I'm not. That's not what I'm doing.
Just trying to stop suffering.
Yeah. And I just know when there's a life in there.
I don't think you have to explain this. This is what you do for a living.
Yeah. There was just something I knew she had.
I know too.
Little bit left to do.
Right.
Yeah. A little bit left to go. And so I just thought, I'm going to give it. And I would only put 24-hour windows on things. Previously, it was something that was very common with me is when we lived in Phoenix is the amount of animals that came, I want to say threw themselves in front of me, because that's what it felt like, that had cancer, that had, and they're at the end of their rope, all of these things.
Yep.
And I would bring them in and I'd get them all fixed up. We'd start treatment. I didn't care what it looked like, what it costed. I'd just go for it and I'd figure the rest out later. And in my head, we'd get through that first week and I'm like, yes, we got another year. I don't care how senior they are. And just like that, they'd have a good week and then they were gone.
Oh.
And they would dip out. And it was over and over and over. And I would flatline because I was in my head, I thought, how did I let this happen? I took it very personal, whereas I was their last bit of comfort. And I knew that. And I knew that was what I was there for. And I was totally good with that. And so I had to stop projecting what I wanted, what I kept seeing. Maybe that animal just didn't want to die cold and alone. But, things like that where
exactly
I could help with that part.
Yep.
And so Mary Katherine was the first case where I said, don't start thinking about your 2-year mark, Coco. You do what she needs today.
Right.
You make sure whatever she needs for today is what you're doing. And that's what we did. And so we got through the first day of steroid and I thought, oh my God, there's a chance. We can figure something out. And it still wasn't great, but it was better. Her breathing.
We're also using logic, right? She's old. She's started this breathing problem and she's been dumped. Very common, right? The moment the dog gets old and has problems, and sometimes they've even taken the dog to a vet and gotten a diagnosis and a cost, and they're like, can't do this. And that's when they take them to a boarding facility like they used to at my place and then never pick them up again.
And leave. Yeah.
Or relinquish to a shelter or dump them in an alley.
Yep. And that's actually exactly the lovely couple that had taken her to the shelter. That was their first concern, was they had another animal. They were on a fixed income and they wanted to help her, but they said, we just thought she'd have a better chance here financially. We can't. Right. And I was like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, at least she got her this far. I'll take the rest of it. And so that's where we ended up going. So day 2, the next morning, we had moved up to this property where we're at not too long, last summer. And so we haven't been here that long. There's a small boutique food store that is called Lone Star. And I've heard about
Lone Star Pet.
I've heard Lone Star Pet
Hallie and Lone Star Pet
a million times. And they're not too far from us. Lots of people have talked about them. And in my head, it was just like, okay, I'll get there when I get there. You know, there's just a million things all the time. So I got my food from another one that was a little bit further away, but it was closer to where I used to live. So anyway, right before we picked up Mary Katherine, Hallie had messaged me on Instagram, and it was just kind of like a welcome to the neighborhood. And she's like, we got a gift basket for you. I'm like, you're kidding me. It was so cool. I'm like, I've been dying to come in there anyway. What a great reason. So the day we were going to just introduce ourselves and meet Hallie I took Mary Katherine with me. At that point, I'd had her 2.5 days now. And I went from, wherever my head was, I just decided she's not going to leave my side. I just need to, she's not going alone. Whatever needs to happen, I just want to make sure that she's okay. And if I need to help her and she is indeed ready to go, we're doing it now, so she just was with me always. So we go to Hallie's and we walk in and I'm holding her like this. And Hallie had followed our Instagram, so she saw that we had her and, what had led up to that. And we were just discussing food, food. We try to keep the dogs on an almost all raw diet, with some of those clean foods being slightly cooked. And that was a huge goal of mine in rescue. Like, that is financially a massive undertaking.
I literally bought a store so that I could get wholesale. So I could get wholesale prices so that I could feed all of my dogs.
So smart. That is so smart. And that is, I hope people hear that. That is such a smart business move.
Well, you keep dropping smart business moves too, where I'm like, oh, why didn't I do that?
It's so, that really is, because when you're doing rescue, in the beginning, if I tell people all the time, if you don't have a spouse, somebody that has the primary income and can cover bills, be prepared to have a massive emotional meltdown. You're going to go Britney, circa 2016, whatever it was. You will at some point. So just don't keep clippers in your house. Don't keep everything locked up, because that is going to happen. And you will wonder, what am I doing? Why am I here? Right. And what's it all? You'll go through all these spirals, because it is trying to maintain a financial roof over your head with whatever job or position, and even if you work remotely, and build an organization that's thriving, where you're helping people or giving information, which is where you and I align. I didn't want to just do this because I wanted to fix a couple. I wanted to do it so that there was a blueprint and there was information, so people could either keep their animal, or they knew what routes to take, or they knew how to train the dog, or they knew how to help with rescue, or they knew how to volunteer, all of that. Like, that was important to me.
It's holistic. You're literally creating a holistic rescue, where holistic means the whole animal is considered. Everything, environment, what we're eating, what we're putting in, behavior. Is everyone happy? Do I get to go outside? Do I get to be a dog? Like, literally everything is that way. That's why you always want to find that holistic veterinarian, that holistic rescue, that holistic groomer. That's what I was. Holistic daycare and boarding. What does that mean? Like, really, really. And then I want everyone to be careful, because now what's happening is everybody is using the words holistic, natural, and organic, and like greenwashing, pretending that this is what it is. And that's not true. We keep getting off of Mary Katherine's story.
Oh, God,
so now we're standing in front with Mary Katherine. You're in Lone Star Pet. You meet Hallie. She's talking food.
This changed everything. This one interaction changed everything. Literally everything.
I know. I love it.
I'm standing there with Mary Katherine, who is sitting right here sleeping. And as soon as she pops her head up, I'm going to bring her out. She's this little, just decrepit, perfect thing. and I'm holding her, and she's still not super great, but better. And we walk in, I'm talking to Hallie, we're introducing ourselves, and Mary Katherine starts having a breathing episode where she can't breathe. And we had been several hours since something like that had happened, and she just, and Hallie looks over at me, and she grabs a bottle of the mushroom tincture, and she slides it across the counter, and she says, give this to her. And I'm like, got it. Okay, load me up. What else? Whatever Hallie says, I'm doing. I don't care what the cost is. Put it in my cart. Just do it. And she goes, no, give it to her now. And she immediately undoes it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. How much? What do I do? Because she's so little. My fear is I'm going to squirt it down her throat. She's going to get aspiration pneumonia. And and trying to save her, I've now killed her. And she's like, give her a full dropper. And I just kind of was like, looking at her, and she's like, now. And I don't know anyway. So I give it to her. I slide it right here. I give her a full dropper. And I shit you not, the second I take her dropper out, she does that thing, swallows, and breathes. And for the first time in 2.5 days, this dog is breathing. And I'm watching her and thinking, okay, she just swallowed. It's going to happen again. And it doesn't happen again. And I look at Hallie and I'm like, what the fuck? What was that? And she's like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. I'm like, oh my God. What? I was so speechless. And I look at Sarah, my business partner, who's pretty non-emotional and does not get excited about things. And she's just like, cool. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. I just want to fucking scream. This dog is breathing. I could not catch my own breath. I was floored. And I did not understand what happened. And I didn't even care at that point.
I can tell you what happened. But first I want to tell you, this is how medicine is supposed to work. And not only that, I'm assuming she hasn't had any more of these episodes since you have had her on this protocol.
Yep.
And that there have been no weird side effects. There hasn't been a side effect from you giving her an all-natural hemp and an all-natural mushroom and adaptogen tonic that is made with intent, that is made correctly from what those mushrooms grow on, from when they're harvested, how they're gently extracted, what the preservative that is put in, every step. That's exactly how I formulated. That is my intent. Because I went to school, I was lucky enough to go to the University of Vermont School of Medicine, where I learned about the endocannabinoid system and what plants and mushrooms interact with this system. And then what are those medicinal compounds in those plants that we actually have to extract and get to? And then how do we make them super bioavailable so that we can help an animal and get rid of suffering, which was my number one thing that I wanted to do, was to get rid of suffering. Because when you're at your rescue, whether it's a dog fight, whether it's a seizure, whether it's you got a bunch of old dogs with problems, whatever it is, that's what I had the hardest trouble dealing with is I want to get rid of this suffering. And that's literally what I made. And that's the way medicine is supposed to work. It's not supposed to take a week or 2 weeks. It's not supposed to have side effects where you get a yeast infection or diarrhea or cancer, or you tax the liver, you tax the kidney. You'd never bring that animal back to homeostasis, and things just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So I am so grateful that you walked in to Hallie's store and met, and then I get to meet you. And then how's it been going? Because the next thing that happened is that, I reached out to you, Hallie and I talk, I reach out to you, and then I'm coming to do an event at her store. So I'm like, hey, can I come by and see you?
This has been one of the most phenomenal and transformative experiences, because it's so important that and I know you know this, but you don't have my DMs, you don't have my inbox. So the amount of people that have messaged requesting, what is that dog on? Because I do social media, as you know. I create content so that people can understand what's happening, have a whatever it is, so we can get donations for our dogs, but so people can see the full picture. and they saw Mary Katherine dying. They saw her suffocating. And then they got to see her bouncing. This dog trots now. She doesn't even walk. She trots. And this is back in December when I thought we had maybe 24 hours if we were lucky. And we are, 5 months in, almost 6 months in, and she's not slowing down. I mean, it is unbelievable. She is on, so Hallie got me hooked up with the food. We talked about the food, and we already knew a good diet, but she introduced me to Solutions, which was perfect for her. And she went through your line of CBD, and I started posting about it. And this dog did not have any more episodes, and we kept going and going and going. And I don't know, a couple months in, like, do I need to still have her on these? I thought that I was going to have her on the steroid for the rest of her life because we were so in such bad shape. And I thought, I could make peace with that. It's a very mild dose. And if that's going to give her quality of life, I can make peace with that. And I'm sure she can too. And we're doing all these other things. She's been off steroids for months. This is all we do. And you had even told me when you and I spoke, you're like, you could pull back on this and you could do this one. And I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know you know best, but I am not. No,
I don't. I don't have the animal in front of me. It's your animal. You know best.
I was not taking her off.
Well, I remember you telling me the story about Scarlett.
Yeah. So Mary Katherine is not the only dog. So she is a whole new dog. We got your whole line of everything because I
had the privilege. I don't know if everybody saw when I came to visit. I got the honor to come visit your beautiful rescue and meet your team and most of your dogs. And I could have stayed there all day or moved in.
That was awesome.
But loved it. But oh my God, fell in love with Diamond. Do you still have Diamond? Has Diamond been adopted?
Not yet.
Oh my God, I swear to God, I might have to come get him.
Please do.
Still think about him all the time. But yeah, Scarlett. I loved Scarlett's story because I thought it was so awesome because I want people to know, again, that you will know the results. If you are using a mushroom extract or a full spectrum hemp extract, you're going to know pretty much within sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, definitely within a day, whether it is working or not. Now, that is if you're using it correctly. If you're just going to put one drop and not the whole dropper, which is what's recommended. If you're not seeing those results from that mushroom powder you're throwing on your dog's food or that you are using it, then it's probably not made right. Or it may not have any mushrooms or CBD or hemp in it at all. So if you're not having that effect, you need to find something that does because that's the way it is supposed to work.
And, it made so much. When you came here and we got to deep dive into how this all came to be for you, I couldn't pick my job off the ground enough because everything made sense. Everything became so crystal clear. I remember when you said Oregon. I was born and raised in Oregon, and it's magical and pure, and everything up there is it's heavenly. Yeah. So when you said Oregon water, I knew immediately. I was like, that's it. That's it. But there were so many pieces. I remember you telling me you knew where the water that irrigated your crops was coming from, like down to the detail.
One of our farmers fought Monsanto and won.
Oh.
She took a year off of her running her farm to fight him to protect, to keep her county non-GMO. Jackson County, pretty sure it's Jackson County. I always mess this up. And protect their water source. And they won. And they even came back like 5 years later and tried to challenge it again. There's literally like 3 places in the United States that are still that way. My hemp is grown in one of them, and most of my mushrooms and herbs is grown in the other place. Yep. So it is. Places like Oregon and Washington and even Northern California still have very pure, beautiful, organic places where mushrooms are abundant. I just went off season on a forage and made a complete meals for my whole family from what I found.
That's incredible.
Tell us about Scarlett. Tell us, because I loved Scarlett because you said you had been giving Scarlett over and over and over again another CBD product and not really anything happening. And then
she had been she was one of the candidates that was for my CBD that had been sitting up here.
And it was even, that's what I love. is that even that other CBD you were using was a full spectrum hemp extract.
Yeah.
So you got that part right. They probably even had a COA. What people don't understand is that I went to school for this. I pick strains intentionally. I source seeds intentionally. I add other adaptogens intentionally to get a desired effect. We nano-emulsify everything so that the moment it hits their mouth, it goes into their bloodstream. All of this is how nobody else, I don't know another CBD company that has someone like me, and I'm not just saying it because it's me, but that has somebody who understands how it works, how to make it, how to formulate it, how to preserve it, and make it super effective for what you're trying to teach.
Yeah. And when you had explained all this to us, I was repeating some of it to some people afterwards. And I'm like, I'm not getting paid to promote this, because I would just get so aggressive in what I was talking about because I know what it did. I know what the results are. And I'm not telling you to go buy it. Take what I have and do it. I'm telling you because I have done everything and I will do, I am the guinea pig. I'm the one that's trying to figure out what to do. And I found it. This woman became a fucking scientist to make this. You don't understand. This is not somebody.
Became a Navy SEAL.
That's what
just
it
like
was.
You did.
It was just so, it was so unreal. The lengths that you went to produce this and put it out the way that you put it out, that it was no longer a shock to me when we would give this to our animals. And within 24 hours or hours, we had a new animal in front of us. I had the starstruck shock wasn't there anymore because I just knew. Now I just got it. And Scarlett came to us about a year ago, and it was a owner surrender that lied about the situation, unfortunately. And it doesn't matter. Who cares? Right. People do it all the time. But we were told she was going to be euthanized, within the next night. And that and I don't even actually remember what, but the gal that was going to take her lived in New York. She just asked, we knew each other. She has a rescue out there. She just said, could you go get her right now and just hold her until I get that all? Yeah, no problem. So I go and get her and I talk to the owner, and he's this, very nice guy. And he tells me his wife's sick and he's got to go on and on and on. Come to find out, his new wife didn't like the dog. And so he was going to euthanize her because the new wife didn't like her. Scarlett at the time was 12, friendliest, happiest,
sweetest dog ever. I might have to adopt her too.
She's so just walked up to me, wagging her whole body like we're old pals, and jumped in my van. I'm like, she's wonderful.
She's like, finally, get me away from this asshole.
Yeah. She was on a pretty good dose of carprofen and gabapentin because her joints were a senior dog's joints. They just were not well. If we missed a dose, she hobbled. You could tell she was painful.
I don't mean to stop you right there, but how does that make sense? Why do we need to give 2 pain medications for joint pain? Right.
And so in my head, it is, we're doing an anti-inflammatory, and then the gabapentin we've always been told is like a nerve blocker. It's got a little sedate.
I'll tell you what gabapentin is. Gabapentin is a drug that fell out of favor being used in humans. And so now it's making its way into the vet world and does not belong there whatsoever. It is a terrible drug.
I've been told that too. Yeah. So I think that conversation, I just came to that with you. And then there was somebody right after you that solidified the gabapentin that I didn't know. I had no idea. And, this is how all of us are operating. And dogs are on these things forever because we just trust who tells us. And to be honest, some of the vets don't even know.
No, of course they don't, because they weren't told. They don't know anything about this. They weren't taught. They were taught how to use pharmaceuticals and disperse them. How, just so that you know, and if I said this to you, I say it all the time, people literally make fun of me. But pharmaceutical drugs are made, pain travels through 5 pathways. Pharmaceutical drugs are targeted just one of those pathways. Okay. So when I give you a drug as a veterinarian for pain, and I say to you, how's he doing? I think he's still experiencing pain. They do another one because then that is interacting with another pathway.
Got it.
So the problem is that it never completely gets rid of pain because it's not interacting with all 5. Okay. Guess what does? A full spectrum hemp extract. And if you need extra strength, meaning you're interacting now with all 5, but it's It's bone cancer. It's something very severe. It's a car accident. It's whatever. It's surgery. You need very extra strength Tylenol with codeine, morphine strength.
Yep.
You still don't have to add those pharmaceuticals. You can add more THC, which will get rid of the pain, and or other adaptogens that are known to be great for pain. And when you put them together, they become very powerful and synergistic. So that's what happens, is that dogs end up on 5 different types of pain medications. They're still in pain. The pain's still not completely gone. And nobody knows what happens when you combine those 5 synthetic chemicals that were made in the lab. They have horrible side effects. So again, let's pretend we had a dog that got hit by a car and you're at the hospital. Do I want you to go, no, don't give him that pharmaceutical drug? No. It's necessary.
Right.
Need it. We need to stop it right now. But don't give that pharmaceutical drug for the rest of his life. And if you need to help the liver detox itself. You need to help the liver function. You have to rebuild the gut microbiome, because those synthetic prescription drugs are going to destroy all of those things. And your dog will never be in pain again, but will have another problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was something that even, Sarah, my business partner, who is very, she's very savvy about a lot of this, especially the pharmaceuticals. Doesn't have a background in holistic. She just grew up in vet med, and she knows the repercussions of some of these. So even having Scarlett on carprofen didn't feel good. It was a high dose, and it was every day. And
how was she? I mean, was she not in pain, but was she?
It was hit and miss. She would go, most of it was not in pain on colder days. You could tell it still bugged her, but she, and she just kind of hobbled around in a fairly good spirit, but she was a very stoic dog, as most of the bully breeds are, and just moved through things. The second we put her on CBD, the very next day, Sarah had sent me footage out here in our on our ranch property. We have this massive piece of turf, and it's just glorious, and it's really cool. And you kind of run down the driveway to get to it. The next day, Scarlett bolted down to that big piece of turf and ran and did like a home run slide. And then she kept getting up and doing slides around over. And Sarah's laughing and filming it, and I'm watching it. I'm like, what the hell? And she's like, we have her on that CBD. You're kidding. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? She's not on she hasn't been on carprofen since we met you. She's only on CBD, and she gets the mushrooms, and who doesn't want that anyway?
Right.
But every single dog we have right now that had some kind of stiffness, some kind of joint, because we do have Harrison, who I spoke about earlier, my tough dude. He's getting up there in age, and he still is very, very young energy. And you would never know this is a 10-year-old dog, ever. I mean, we have Sarah's dog, her personal dog, that we were in a panic about back in November. She's a young 3-year-old Connie Corso. And we don't know exactly, couldn't figure out what happened, but we thought she had valley fever, which is something that's an Arizona thing. And it's a fungus that gets into their lungs, but now it's morphed into a million different things. It's cancer, it's death, it's everything horrible. And it shows up in weird ways. And so we could not figure out what is wrong with Veda. She wouldn't get out of bed. She acted really stiff. Mind you, she's 3 years old. She's a big dog that is very active. We're always doing things with our dogs. And we just couldn't, her blood work was normal. Everything kept, so we finally, I'm like, we got to do an MRI. I don't care to dump $4,000 into this, but we need to know what's going on. We could not figure out what was happening. MRI shows nothing. Like, oh my God, what is going on? So we do a reading with Magical Mutts Michelle. And if anybody listening, if you're not familiar, it's an animal communicator. And if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a psychic.
Yeah.
That's not your thing. That's cool, but it's my thing. And I'll take that feedback any day, especially when I am at a dead end. And we do a reading with Michelle. And it turned out that the food she was on, which was very clean and very wonderful, the raw diet, her body doesn't do well with beef. And we had her on a beef. Everything was beef. She said that it makes her feel like she's got fibromyalgia. And that is and I came from a body work industry. That is how that dog acted. I saw fibromyalgia patients all the time. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so that was it. And then she said she requested the CBD. Beto knew she wanted the CBD. So we switched her protein and she gets a dropper and we've got a 3-year-old Corso again.
Yay!
I mean, and just like that.
Again, same thing. Imagine me, I'm you, at my rescue. Mm-hmm. I had farm animals also. So I rescued farm animals people didn't want. And then old decrepit dogs with disease. I'd take any dog, like, especially if it was someone was like, oh, I got this puppy. And I'd be like, yep, I can find a home for that immediately. Like literally I had a customer give me her $8,000 bougie dog that she flew from somewhere, whatever. And just was like, it just barks and shits and pisses and follows me around everywhere. And I was like, would you like me to take her off your hands for you and find her a new home? She's like, do you think I could get someone to buy it? And I'm like, no.
Oh, God.
But anyway, I had so many animals that had problems that, again, I just wanted to take the suffering away or whatever. And that's the other thing that's so beautiful about a full spectrum hemp extract or cannabis for any humans that want to feel better. Is that it's going to get rid of inflammation of everything and anything. And all disease is based on inflammation of something. So that's why it seems like it works for everything, because that's what it's doing. It's getting to the root problem and helping the body's ability to get rid of pain and heal itself. That's all it's doing. It's Mother Nature. She provides us with all the food and medicine that we need. And if we take it in the right form and it's grown right and it's got all those magical compounds, it's going to help always. So I feel like I could talk to you for another hour, and I know I need to go.
I know.
Because I haven't talked about your advocacy work and, how you fight the laws in Arizona. Those of you listening, she's such a badass. Support what she's doing, and also look at where you live and make sure that the things that are going on in your shelters and in your state, because you'd be shocked. And yes, before she goes, here's baby Mary Katherine. She's the sweetest, cutest little soul, and I'm so happy that I was able to help her. Koco, tell everybody, how can they find you? It's so fun to follow you on social media. She literally shows us everything. Where can people follow you? And if they want to donate and help what you're doing there in Arizona?
Yeah, thank you. We are super active on all platforms. Instagram is a big one. I like Instagram because I do lives and stories. It's real easy over there. Everything's at Handover Rover, everything. So, and all of our links are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. YouTube's my personal name, but you can still, it's easy to find us. But if you wanted to donate, all the donation links are there, handoverrover.org. If you just need some input, if you just need, whether it's, medical or you've got behavior, any of it, it's a good place to be because we're constantly talking about it and how to navigate what that looks like. So it's very informative. And if you just want to watch Mary Katherine run around in little dresses, that's a good spot too.
Yeah, she likes to wear dresses. It's the best. Koco, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing
thank you.
How the products are helping. It really helps us get the word out for people to be able to see someone like you using it, applying it, and getting it such great results. I really appreciate you spreading the word. And thank you for letting me bring you all of this knowledge and plants and mushrooms to help your babies.
Thank you for doing this. I mean, this is, I'm the one that needs to thank you because outside we wouldn't have this. These animals would not have the benefit of what we are truly trying to give them had it not been for these products. And that is the God honest truth. Like you have helped us on a scale that I can't even communicate because it's so profound. We are so grateful for this.
Thank you. I'm so happy to know you. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening from. This is the best way to help pet parents like you find these episodes and get access to all our content. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Your Natural Dog and at AngelaArdolino.com.